Becky Two Belts is riding high. Seth Rollins and AJ Styles have a match for the ages, and Brock Lesnar has one of his trademark returns that ruins our main event. If 4 matches isn't enough for you, this show had 11. We're talking all things Money in the Bank 2019, and I was there. Let's do this.
Ladies and gentlemen.
What's up, world? It's your boy Tommy on the spot for Watch Along Wrestling, and I'm a wrestling content creator from Long Island, New York. Thanks so much for checking out this video, as we're going to go back and check out my experience to Money in the Bank 2019, some 6 years ago. It's unbelievable it has been that long. At the time, my wife and I had been to the Royal Rumble in Arizona to bring in 2019. Obviously, we celebrated all things WrestleMania 35 here in the New York City area. And here we were, just some 2 months later, getting ready to go to Hartford, Connecticut for Money in the Bank 2019. And it was, for us, I think this is probably, I think my wife will say, this is probably her peak fandom of WWE. And it's one of my favorite years. And I think a lot of reason for that is, and there's some things I don't love about 2019. Let's not even get into the Hell in a Cell from that year. I'll just let that kind of slide to the side. There's some things I don't like about 2019, but I do really kind of reflect fondly on the year just because there was so much that we did as fans, and I think it's the first year I really dove into all things Watch Along Wrestling here on the channel. And really the last year before the pandemic, and then everything kind of went haywire. But 2019, I was watching WWE every single week. I was usually doing live streams of my watch-alongs with Raw, and I was traveling to a lot of shows. And so when my wife and I had booked a trip here to Sint Marten to go out and celebrate and get down there, and always just enjoy being able to go and explore new islands and explore new places to travel. And that trip was booked. When I looked and saw when that travel was going to be finishing and when we were going to be returning to New York, I noticed it was going to be very early in the morning on Sunday, May 19th. And that was the same day, Kane could cover his ears. It was the same day as this Money in the Bank show. So at the time, I had posted a vlog from that show. Last year, I kind of uploaded an extended vlog going through our entire trip and journey to Money in the Bank. So in this video, we're going to go back and rewatch that with some updated commentary. First time I'm watching this since it's been uploaded, so excited to check it out. So you're going to go ahead, if you are following along, and don't worry, you can just watch this video and it's going to be up there, but obviously the vlog itself will be lowered so you can hear my updated commentary. But if you want to go ahead and see the full vlog in its glory, you can go to extended WWE Money in the Bank 2019 vlog from Sint Marten to Hartford, Connecticut, and I will post it in the comment section below. So let's go ahead and dive right into this here. It's about a 20-minute vlog, so let's do it. Here we go. We're going to start in 3, 2, 1, and here we are now on a boat. You can see it's we're in beautiful Sint Marten, so we were really excited to be there. First time ever visiting Sint Marten, and I'm doing a preview video for us, basically letting people know, look how excited we are to be going to Money in the Bank. We're in the middle of a beautiful island here in Sint Marten, and I'm filming a hype video for us telling people, hey, we're going to be coming to Money in the Bank. Keep it locked. I think I probably posted this on Twitter, which is now obviously X, or on Instagram rather, kind of a preview for what was to come. And you can tell the hype was real. We were both very excited. I am telling people we're coming. In the background, you hear a little Flo Rida there. And even though Flo Rida is probably not my favorite artist in the world, I do have a soft spot for him. I feel like his music's very catchy. I think it's fun, and honestly, so many of his songs have been used for WWE pay-per-view events. You hear like Survivor Series 2011, WrestleMania 28, some of those stuff they did there. He was performing Wild Ones for The Rock. He was obviously, I think it was WrestleMania 33, where it was Welcome to My House. So Flo's always kind of been my guy, just because of that, and I always will remember the specific types of events that he's been a part of. So now we are here in, and also in that beginning, if you're wondering, my wife says something like, well, you're going to go in after it. You better not drop it. You're going to go in after it. I was filming the video with her phone for some reason. I don't know why, but, and I am filming it. We're literally on the boat. You've got the water here, and I'm about into the water with my arm, filming us selfie style for that video. So it's very funny, and I have always just been like, hey, it doesn't matter, like, whatever, you're gonna drop the phone, and of course, like, you certainly could drop the phone, which would not be great. So interesting. But now we are at this Star Wars museum, and my wife and I, Star Wars fans. I'll be honest, we are kind of I'd say we're Star Wars fans, we're not Star Wars fanatical, and that's probably surprising considering the fact that our son's name is Kylo. But you can see some of these artifacts here. They didn't allow any filming in the actual museum, but it was a very cool visit, and you could see us there on the staircase as we're looking at some of these different artifacts and the different standees that they had there. And you will also notice here in a second that I am quite hot. Sint Marten was absolutely steaming Willy beamin'. It was one of the hottest places I had ever been, and very few of the places had any sort of air conditioning. So it is probably in this particular video where I decide the importance of wearing an undershirt, even if it's hot, because I'm sweating through my clothes, as is my wife there. You can see she's just glistening. So very funny, and she had no problem there getting a little close-up of all of the sweat dripping through. And we had gone here before we had actually checked into the hotel. You can see there's a trolley there. The trolley would take us each day. You had an option to go right out from where our hotel was, which was in the American side of St. Martin, into the European side. And once you would go there, you'd be able to go check out some of the different shops. My wife's currently, in this particular clip, looking at the different areas of how to get around, and also some of the different amenities that our resort had. Yes, we had a resort we were staying at. How bougie were we? And we were, but that trolley would take us, and if you go into the shops, they'd actually usually give you like a free bottle of Heineken, because they considered Heineken sort of like a delicacy. So you could walk right into a shop, do some shopping, do some browsing, walk right into the back of the store and take your glass and give yourself draft Heineken, which was pretty cool. And we had plenty of Heineken during that weekend. Also saw a brief clip of the Red Piano. That was one of the bars that was connected to our resort. They had live music and entertainment all night. And now we took a speedboat over to Pinnell Island, which is just absolutely beautiful. And one of the things that's really cool about Pinnell Island, and one of the things I remember fondly about it, is that it is so close to where the airport and the airplanes land. So you can see that airplane is coming closer and closer and closer to the water, and everybody is kind of gathered around to watch the airplanes come just right above your head and go all the way through to the to land right there, which I thought was really interesting. And you also had you have a turtle down there, right by our feet. And then what we were doing was going and getting our lunch for the day. We walked right into the ocean, and one of the individuals who worked at this particular place, I think it was called Yellow Beach, was there with lobsters, and we would choose the lobster like we have any clue, right? Just make us a lobster. But it was quite an experience to go in and see him take the lobster out of the water, and it was very interesting. So here he is. He's taking both of the lobsters out of the water for my wife and I. Never been a huge seafood guy, but certainly became much more so with my wife. And I enjoy a good lobster from here to there. Certainly my favorite's probably the warm lobster roll. Always like that as a dish with some fries on the side. And here he is. He's taking, I think, 3 different lobsters. Look how big these lobsters are in order to prepare the meals for us. So certainly I've never seen anything like this in the past. I thought it was really interesting that they did that. And back in the day, I remember going like supermarkets, and you'd see the particular, I think it's the lobsters themselves, they'd be in the tank, and then the tank would come out. You'd be able to just pull them right out of the tank and go from there. And you can see my wife has like a full lobster dish right there on her plate, as now she's looking at some of the different, I think she has like a margarita there, a pina colada. Not like a frozen drink if you're going on a trip to an island. I even have a margarita there. Very rare for me to go margarita style. For me, I'm a fan of beer. I certainly like trying beer from all different areas. I like the St. Martin beer. I always like local, always like craft. But I will indulge in a frozen beverage from time to time. In particular, if I'm going to an island, if I'm on a vacation or something like that, I'll certainly indulge in a frozen drink. In particular, if you're ever in the Caribbean or on the beach, either in Mexico, Dominican Republic, wherever you are, here we are here in St. Martin, always good to, I have no problem divulging in the frozen drink thing. You can see my wife is like, wait a second, your drink's much better than mine. And you can kind of tell her drink is very much, you can tell there's different types of alcohol kind of sitting on the top. It doesn't seem as mixed. certainly as my margarita was. And now we're over there at the Iguana Beach, which was very, very cool. What an experience this was. Literally walking down, and these iguanas are just huge all over the place, and they're just roaming free. Like, I just think it's so cool. And you have some that are walking right over to you, probably hoping for some sort of food, and you have others that are in the back there just relaxing on the rocks, and just such a cool deal. So fun to be able to go and see this and everything to that extent. You know, kind of once in a lifetime type of deal. The year prior, for our honeymoon, we had gone to South Africa, and I checked out Penguin Beach, and Penguin Beach was even more random. To go there and see a bunch of penguins just literally hanging out on a beach, not what you expect. So that was very interesting, and this is what it kind of gave us to. But look at me, I'm hanging out there, looking cool as I could possibly look with that iguana. And now we look like we're sitting back down again. We're going through the map. So yeah, so we're trying to see the different areas, how to get around, ways to do it. And if you ever go to an island, there's always going to be like a concierge service that's usually going to try to get you on paying for either a boat ride or some sort of transportation, some sort of tour. So you always have to be careful. They can see tourists coming from a mile away. Many of these things, certainly having an experience like a speedboat, or some of the experience like taking that boat that we had taken, which you'll see here in a minute, with a group, that's always fun. But always be careful. They will overcharge for sure. And a lot of times you can figure it out for yourself and have an even more rewarding experience because you'll get a chance to spend more time there. There we are with a little bit more of a kind of a bar scene, some live music there. My wife and I all dressed to impress there, all excited. And now, yeah, here we are on this boat. And this is where things went awry for me in a big, big way. This is, I believe, the day before we left. It may have actually been the morning that we left. There I am with a Carib, 5 p.m. somewhere, and we're on this boat. The sun is just beaming on me. I burn so much. It's the beauty of being as pale as I am. I could put on SPF 100. I will burn to a crisp. You see everyone applying the sunscreen there, and I did not have any on one of my feet, or I think I had one on my foot, but nothing too much. So we're doing this snorkeling adventure here, but everyone who was on our boat started to look at my foot and say, "You're getting burnt. You're getting burnt pretty bad." And so I was getting very nervous, and what ended up happening is that I did end up with the worst burn I've ever had from the sun on my left foot. I could barely walk, and it all stemmed from this. I guess this was probably the last day we were at Sint Marten, and then I guess it was the next morning. We had left very early to take a flight back to New York. But there I am. I'm even doing the shirt deal because I don't want to get burnt, and I'm doing everything I could. I think I had a pretty successful trip, but did not have the ability to do anything in terms of my foot is definitely not doing well here. I don't ever get it on there, but you can see here some underwater type footage. I always just love that. It looks so cool. You can see us snorkeling under the water and enjoying just our last day there. It's just beautiful, clear skies, blue waters. You go underneath, it's crystal clear. It doesn't get much better than that. You can usually see all the wildlife, which, like, if you have grown up in Long Island, like I have, if you ever go to the beach in Long Island and you go in the water, everything looks very green, musky, gray, and like you'll feel things once in a while because you'll be in the water and the fish will go by. So if you've never had the opportunity to go check out like a legitimate blue waters like this somewhere overseas in the Caribbean, you'll be able to go and experience that. And my wife's wearing a life jacket. I think you're supposed to wear one. I think I'm just too cool. Maybe I am wearing one. Looks like I might be. And then, yeah, this was definitely the day before because now here's some live music over dinner. And I just love this. Like, every single one of the vibes is so chill at each place we went to. We're enjoying some beer. And here we are the very next morning. And I remember this morning, we woke up. I had already gotten the tickets for Money in the Bank. And my wife's friends, one of my wife's friends got into school to go some sort of graduate school. And they were going to want to go somewhere to connect to go get dinner or lunch or something to that extent. And I remember us being like, we're basically, the way we were going to set things up was we had to get back to New York. We had to drive immediately to Hartford, Connecticut. And our plan was we were going to spend most of the day in Hartford, Connecticut leading up to this show. And you can see how cool this is. As we're walking to the airplane, you actually had to go out onto the tarmac and walk onto the airplane. You don't usually do this. Usually it's connected right from the airport, but not the case here in St. Martin. So here we are flying high and back to New York. And yeah, since our friends had invited us out for dinner, we decided to meet them at Nobu 57. And here we are out to celebrate. Nobu, one of my favorite restaurants. I recognize, you know, a little bougie perhaps, but it's not necessarily that. It's, you know, we have some family who works there. So they always treat us like royalty, honestly, whenever we go there. So always enjoy going to Nobu. And you can see my wife's friends and my friends too. I like them a lot. They've become friends of mine. Once you get married, you realize that usually happens. And we're trying a variety of different dishes. And I always say, if you ever go to Nobu, the way to do it is to really just say, hey, you know, to the chef, hey, listen, you know, can you just put us together some sort of chef specialties, some things we should try on our first visit there? And they'll do a good job. They usually ask, is there anything you absolutely hate, any sort of allergies you have? And then they set it up for you. So like my wife there has like a lobster salad, more lobster. My goodness, we were lobster-fied that weekend. And everyone's kind of given their 2 cents. That is the young lady who had just gotten into graduate school. So she's featured there. And I remember after this, they were going to like a bar or they were going to like a rooftop to hang out. And I do think my wife was like, oh, you know, another wrestling show. Even though she was excited to go to Money in the Bank, I think she was, oh no, I'm sorry, the other lady's husband is sitting here. He's right here next to me. So each one of them, you know, they were all into it. They started getting into the Watch Along Wrestling channel as well and have been subscribers ever since. And, you know, that's the best way. If you're starting up a YouTube channel, the best way to really get started is have all your friends watch and enjoy. So it's very cool. And we were enjoying the Nobu, and you could see everything there. And they actually moved the plan. Originally it was supposed to be dinner. They moved it up so because they knew we had to get to Money in the Bank. So at least we were able to do that and then head open to the open road. Now, New York to Hartford is quite the drive. And I remember being first off, I could barely walk because my foot is like 3rd-degree burn. I'm blowing up the size of a football on the side of my foot. And I was very nervous. And but I still wanted to power through, go to the show. My wife's not happy. And the reason she's not is because I had told a story about how me and my buddy Toby had gone to a WWE Fan Appreciation Day at the same building in Hartford, Connecticut back in 2010 when Linda McMahon was running for office. And the tickets were $10 each for every person there. And we got there, I want to say, in like, boom, under 2 hours, ready to go. And this one did not take that. It was like well over 3, and it was quite the drive and pretty unnecessary coming back from vacation. But that's what you do when you got to get to a wrestling show. Such a sign of the times there. Roman still with, you know, you've got Roman Reigns stuff there. You got the man, Becky Lynch. Obviously, you've got the Fiend Bray Wyatt, the official Money in the Bank shirt there with Becky 2 belts and Seth and Kofi. And that's why I love 2019. People hate on 2019. I think they did kind of give the fans what they wanted. They gave you like 3 champions that we'd been really pushing and wanting to get chances for a long period of time. So it was interesting. So we got there a little late, and we got there right in time to watch Bayley win the women's Money in the Bank. And for me, I was very excited about this because I felt like Bayley had never fully got the full push as a champion. And I think going into this, even though Becky had the 2 belts, it was like, how far can they go with the Becky 2 belts? She was on the show twice, once against Lacey Evans, once against Charlotte Flair. You figured she'd lose one of the titles, but I loved the idea of Becky 2 belts. I wanted them to keep that going for as long as possible. I think Becky was just awesome in the role and really had become the #1 babyface in the company for a time. You can see the cage lowering for Shane McMahon versus The Miz. I for sure expected that Shane McMahon was going to win this match and then go on to face Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. I just didn't see any opponent for Seth at the time. And obviously it would end up being Brock Lesnar. But they pushed Shane so hard. He beat Miz at every single one of his matches with The Miz. He won, including this cage match. And I thought he was at his best as the best in the world. I thought it was one of the best characters for him. He's obviously one of my favorites. I've waxed poetic about Shane for many a year. And so it was very, very cool. And there we went. So that was not the case, but Shane again got the better of The Miz. And now here we are, Bayley about to cash in Money in the Bank. It was my first time my wife had seen a cash in other than obviously WrestleMania 31. For me, I'd been to a few, but always, that's the best part of Money in the Bank is these cash ins. Personally, I'd love to see, I always prefer when someone has like a long sustained run with the briefcase, but I feel like Bayley was always getting to that point where she was over already and had been for such a substantial amount of time. And now was really, I think, her chance to get to that level and have a title. And Charlotte had just beaten Becky Lynch. And so it was like, Charlotte Flair again, of all people. But no, here comes Bayley. She's going to hit the elbow drop off the top and win the SmackDown Women's Championship. So at the end of the night, you still had Becky as the Raw Women's Champion. She wasn't going to be on both shows for all that long. She had a solid almost two-month run. But now Bayley was going to be your SmackDown Women's Champion and finally get that opportunity for that spotlight that I think she never fully got after coming to the main roster from NXT. And so I thought this was so cool, and you can see the crowd just going nuts for it. Strange building in Hartford. They don't have like a whole bunch of, but you can see people just jumping up and down and people dancing. We have horrific seats behind the stage. I have far too many events where that is the case. And then I think my phone died. So there wasn't too much more of this show that I got. But we hit the road, and I remember, the thing for me is I remember being very upset at the men's Money in the Bank match, not because Brock Lesnar won. I just think Brock Lesnar should have been announced. And if Brock Lesnar was announced and then he won, fine. But I just think at the time they kept doing this like Brock returns and Brock wins, and you can see us coming back. I have a great Ultimate Warrior shirt on there, coming back home at the time from the event, and I'm kind of breaking things down. But you know, for me, I just always felt if you were going to have Brock in this match, have him show up. But instead, you have Mustafa Ali like a total geek sitting there holding the briefcase, waiting for Brock to show up, run down, attack him, and then basically win the match from there. And that was very disappointing because I think it would have been fun to see one of those new guys get that chance to run with the Money in the Bank. But that being said, Brock with Money in the Bank coming out, you know, beatbox Brock, dancing, doing the whole deal was very much fun. So it was cool and very fun trip. You know, I didn't even get any of it on the footage, but that AJ Styles Seth Rollins match is still one of my favorites. And it's so interesting because I think AJ at the time, he had 2 runs with the title, and I think had really settled into more of kind of that veteran guy that at any moment you could heat up and have him be a respectable challenger to kind of get that new champion over, like give them a great match in the process. And I feel like that's the role he's been in ever since. He even did the same thing with Cody last year, and it works. Like for the first feud of a new champion, being AJ Styles is not bad. Appreciate him while we got him. I don't think that he's going to be around, certainly not forever. But that match is one of my favorites there, and I think we were really happy we got that. Truth be told, this was not supposed to be the end of our 2019 WWE events. We had one more that was planned, and at the time, you figure Hartford's a couple hours away from New York City. The next month, they're doing Extreme Rules in June, and it's literally in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So my wife and I were going to keep things rolling and go to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Would have gotten to see the Graveyard Dogs, the team of Roman Reigns and The Undertaker, and it would have been fun. But right before that, my wife was like, you know what, is there a chance we could skip this one? I'd like to go on a date night, a date day. I got like something in the city, do a wine tasting, this, that, and third. I said, sure, no problem. And we did that and went to sit down to go have some wine tasting. And my wife wasn't drinking. I was like, what's going on? Everything okay? And that is, of course, when she revealed she wouldn't be drinking because she was pregnant with our firstborn, Dakota. So certainly changed things for us, put things into a different perspective. And it was awesome. And the coolest moment, really, of one of the coolest moments of my entire life. And it was great. So unfortunately, didn't get to Extreme Rules, but I am very fond of 2019. Let me know what you thought of Money in the Bank 2019. What you thought of this style of video. And we'll be back here real soon on Watch Along Wrestling. Until then, I'll catch you all in the next video.